Hi everyone, it's 7 p.m. Kiev time, and it means that it's time to start our live Q&A session. And our guest tonight is Murray. He's a US veteran and now is a team leader of the Team Ronin in the International Legion of Gwatt. Hi Murray, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It's so we are so happy to see you here, and thanks a lot for taking your time to come here. So. For the beginning, let's start with the brief introduction. Could you introduce yourself and then your unit, please?
Yeah, like you said, I'm Murray. I'm the team leader for Ronin team of the International Legion Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, or the GUR as we call it. It's a smaller team of guys. We focus on reconnaissance and sniping tasks within the unit, but we also do just about any job that's asked of us because we're all experienced guys.
And how long does this unit exist for? Is it?
We've been in existence now for about a year and a half, 2 years with my specific team, but all the guys have been operating since the initial kickoff of the war for the most part. We've got some newer guys with the team too, but the core group of guys have been operating since 22.
And the guys who are part of your team, are they? Do they mostly have previous military experience, or did they learn that by doing in Ukraine? What's
the majority of the guys, yes. The kind of guys that we attract to the team usually are a bit more, for lack of better words, hardcore, or more professional soldiers. They just like the, I guess, vibe or like the culture of our team. We take our job very seriously and we work really hard, a little bit too hard for some guys. So most of these dudes, have prior military experience. They appreciate the rigidity that we bring, but we have also had some really good guys come on the team who don't have any prior military experience. They've just been putting hard work in here in Ukraine over the past couple years and have really learned some fantastic skills, and they're a huge asset to the team as well.
So since you exist for quite some time, I suggest you've been into many hotspots of this front line, and you obviously participated in many interesting operations. Could you name a couple of those that you find the most remarkable that obviously we can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say definitely the most remarkable ones, unfortunately, I can't discuss on camera as much as I would like to. But some of the ones that really stand out for me, we did some fantastic work in Kherson during the Kherson counteroffensive there when that kicked off. I got to work with some fantastic individuals. Dan Swift was a Navy SEAL who was working here at the time, did some really close work with him, and I got to see a soldier of that proficiency and that caliber working. Was incredible to see and to learn from him. And some of the stuff we did is just like, this is straight out of a book or a video game or something. So doing operations like that, two men with no armor or equipment swimming down a river on a reconnaissance at nighttime is kind of surreal, but it's amazing that I've had the opportunity to do that. Some of my guys have done incredible work in Bakhmut during the height of the fighting there. Multiple dudes I work with were deployed to Bakhmut as snipers, and they have some impressive tallies of scores against the enemy that they've built up and done some incredible work there. Some of the shots those guys have got off at both daytime and nighttime at distances of like 900 meters plus in the city is pretty impressive what they've done.
Oh, that sounds super interesting, actually. What kind of qualities would a person need if they want to be a part of your team?
One of the first ones I would say is discipline. They need to take the job seriously and understand that this isn't, it's not like the Wild West in Ukraine. In the early days, people love to say that, like, oh, you could go out there and get away with so much stuff. And that might have been true because it was quite chaotic at the time. But one of the things that the Ukrainian Armed Forces has done with so many of these Westerners coming in is really tried to organize them into a professional fighting military unit. So dudes coming over with discipline and then taking the job seriously, that's a huge one. But then also just like a passion for the work. We're going to ask dudes who work with us to do some pretty crazy stuff at times. Things that if they think about it too hard, they might hesitate a little bit. So you really got to enjoy it. One of the things I say to the guys when we step off on a mission is like, everybody happy, everybody having fun. And it seems kind of lighthearted at the time when you're going to go and do something. So just go do war. But really, it is that, like, it's asking the guys, hey, you ready for this? You fired up? So you really do have to bring that passion to the table with our work.
I understand, and thank you. We have actually a very good question from our Reddit community, and thank you guys for helping us. So, what are your favorite sniper rifles and favorite assault rifles among your unit? If you can speak about that.
I am a huge gear nerd, so I absolutely love talking about this kind of stuff. As far as the long guns go, it would be the AXMC 338, the Accuracy International multi-caliber rifle that we have. It's a heavy gun, but it's an amazing rifle. Accuracy International builds fantastic long-range rifles. That's probably my favorite long-distance rifle that we have. We have a 50 cal that's super fun to shoot, but the Accuracy International is just a beautiful gun. For smaller carbines, I have a DDM4 that is just my working horse, and I love it to death. It's super lightweight. I have a couple configurations I've built for it as far as like different optics that I run on it and stuff. But it just kind of is a great all-around gun, and yeah, I'm super fortunate to be able to run that out here.
And if I may ask, these guns, do you buy yourself? Do you have volunteers? How does its supply chain, I guess, look like?
Depending on your situation, some guys procure their own firearms. Some of the harder to get stuff like shotguns or very specific long-range weapons, but that's not something that Westerners can do. You would have to be a Ukrainian with a firearms permit and go through all the legal channels to do that, and then sign it over to the unit. Some guys have done that. It's been super helpful because it helps us get weapons that we wouldn't otherwise have. But normally for Westerners, we just get what the unit has available. We're a quite well-supplied unit, so we get some fantastic weapons coming through and a huge variety, which is really helpful.
And another very popular question, actually, across all the platforms, how can one be helpful in terms of, I don't know, maybe guns, but we covered that, but maybe some supplies, ammos, medical kits, maybe you have some needs, so it's your chance to vocalize that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's always ways people can help, and I would like to say thank you to everybody who does think about that. It's massive. Vehicles are always a huge one. The upkeep of vehicles and stuff is incredibly difficult. With the wear and tear is insane. And then really we do medical supplies are always a big one. We don't necessarily always need medical supplies ourselves, but we pool medical supplies, and that way we're able to help like adjacent units who we're working with if they need stuff, kind of a give and take thing, right? We do that with a lot of our equipment, so it doesn't just help us directly, it helps everybody who's in the war effort.
Yeah. Okay, can I have my camera? Okay, anyways. We'll get your contacts and the maybe like PayPal information, and it will be available on our description under our video. Also, okay, we kind of cover. I guess it's my time to say, if you ever wanted to join Team Ronin, you can message the guys via their social media, and I guess ask directly if they're looking for people, who are they looking, and how to basically make it happen. So don't hesitate, it's your time to shine. Okay, we covered your unit. Thanks for that. Now let's speak about yourself. So what's your story and how did you end up here, basically?
Well, I think you previously mentioned that I was a prior service military, so I was in the U.S. Army in the early 2000s in America. Being a soldier is just something that I always wanted to do. I was one of those kids who grew up like running around with like a paper bag on my head pretending I was a knight and stuff, so just always been interested in that. I grew up in a family who did a lot of reading. My mom was incredibly interested in history, so military history was my kind of thing. And so as soon as I was of age, I joined the military, was really passionate about it, but just didn't do as much as I wanted to in the US. And then when I saw the full-scale invasion building up here in 22, like a lot of military guys, I always watch the news, keep tabs what's going on. I started seeing, and the full-scale invasion kicked off, Russia invaded. I saw lots of the footage and stuff of people, the fighting that was going on, and then the effect on the civilian population. And then I'd heard about Westerners being over here, but when Zelensky put out that asking for assistance from Westerners saying, yes, we will help you, like there's a process for it, it will be official. That was such a huge reassurance to come over, that you weren't just going to show up and be like, oh, maybe I can help, or just get in the way. But like, no, okay, they do want people over there. Great. So I have specific skills. I'm a qualified javelin gunner. That's the initial thing that brought me over, talking to people, trying to help out with that system. And so I came over in May of 22, and then just got tied in with a bunch of units. And yeah.
Did you actually join the International DIU's Legion straight from the beginning, or were you working with someone else?
No, right off rip, I came into country and then was working with like a humanitarian group, kind of doing like aid supply and stuff just across the border, nothing super special. And then I kind of met a few other veterans who were in the area, linked up with a few dudes who had been fighting already, kind of dudes coming in and out of country, you know, in Lviv. And some guys were like, look, we've got this opportunity down south. We're going to try and do some training down there. So I hopped on with that. We went out and trained a group of dudes down in the Odessa area. After that, around June time, I got the call from a guy I'd met, and he literally was like, hey, you want to come do war with me? And I was like, yes, let's do it.
Thanks.
Yeah. And that was the whole start of the DIU legacy for me.
Well, you made it so far. Congratulations, and also congratulations. You've become the first legionnaire to receive the Ukrainian citizenship.
Yeah, thank you.
So many foreign volunteers that I know, it's been an important topic to them because many of them want to have this citizenship. And so, could you lead us through your experience? What was the process of it?
Yeah, so it's been a huge thing for a ton of Westerners. We've talked about it too within our unit specifically. Guys have said, oh, do you want to get that? Some guys want to get residency. Some guys want to get citizenship. So the DIU lawyers, I think about a year and a half ago, were asking, hey, who's interested in citizenship? Not residency, but hold complete citizenship. And quite a few dudes volunteered for it, put my name in for that, completed the process. And then a lot of us were like, okay, we'll see what happens, forgot about it. Around that same time, I was awarded a presidential medal, the Order of Bogdan Khmelnytsky, for actions in Kherson. So that being the level of that medal, I guess, they were able to expedite the process of citizenship for me. A huge part of why I am probably one of the first people getting citizenship. But then it kind of was just like, I went down to the passport office like anybody, applied for it with a lawyer, did all the necessary paperwork, and then just sat and waited. And then, a couple weeks ago, I got a call to, hey, go rush down to this office, get your passport made, and then you're meeting the president the next day. Unfortunately, that's probably not super helpful for the people listening because it's a bit of an outlier. But I think the takeaway from that is there is a process in place for Westerners, and everyone that I have met on the Ukrainian side is incredibly helpful, and they want to get more people citizenship. It's not like just a one-off thing. Yeah.
And if I may ask, what were you feeling or what were you thinking when Zelensky was awarding you with the citizenship? I thought it was like an official, beautiful ceremony. What were your thoughts back then?
Oh, yeah. It was really, really cool. It was a huge honor. I was a bit nervous because it was kind of just like a very last-minute thing. I was wearing a borrowed uniform and stuff, so it's just like, all right, I hope I don't mess any of this up. I didn't get directions on how to march up in the beginning. It's just so in my head, I'm just like, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. But then, you do those kind of things and you just, brain takes over, you just go up and muscle memory, I guess, or whatever. I wasn't thinking too much. It was just don't screw up. So, but it was a massive honor. It was really incredible. I always go to those ceremonies and just listen to the stories of the other people receiving awards, especially the people who receive posthumous awards and stuff. Their families are there representing them. Getting citizenship is great, but those people gave everything for the nation. So paying attention to their stories is important to me.
Yeah. I agree. And actually, my following question would be, so you came to Kiev straight from war, you were on a mission. How does it feel to coming back to Kiev from chaos, war, and everything that goes with war, to peaceful Kiev, normal people, normal city, normal life?
Yeah, it's very surreal. It takes a little bit of an adjustment period. I usually come back to Kiev and close up in my apartment for a few days, kind of thing, and just adjust a bit more, going out for coffee and stuff. Excuse me. We usually operate out of larger cities and stuff, so a lot of the time we're doing missions on the front and then coming back to a city, which in and of itself is surreal as it is, because you can go from like 30 minutes ago, you were, riding out in a truck with FPV threat, strikes either side of you, and then you hop in a different truck at a changeover spot. And 10 minutes later, you're in the city, and there's the Glovo driver is passing you and stuff, or the Bolt food guy's honking at you as you're riding in the back of this pickup truck, and you're just like, this is nuts. Like, you don't even know what I was doing 20 minutes ago or the rest of the today. But so that's always really surreal, but it's something you get used to, and it's nice having access to those like creature comforts so readily. Yeah.
Okay. We all see in the movies how they portray snipers, right? That for a week you lie somewhere in the bushes, covered in dirt, waiting for your targets. But I don't know, how does a sniper work look in a real day-to-day life? So how does your work actually happening? How is it happening on the front line? Could we speak about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes we do lay in bushes. There's a famous story between the med team and my team about an admin bush, but I won't go off into that too much. But we do sometimes go out and just wait. We get specific sectors. A lot of the time we do like preparatory work, so there's a lot of like map reconnaissance, figuring out points, saying, okay, if I sit here, I can see this whole sector of the terrain. If we know that Russians are operating in that area, it may be beneficial for us to go out there and try to shoot targets of opportunity. We might see equipment moving through that area that we can target. A lot of the time, we also have what we call like supporting tasks and stuff. So we might be supporting another operation going on, screening their right flank so that Russian support can't come from that side. Or we can go out and just specifically harass certain areas. If there's like an assault going on somewhere or planned on going on, we can try and take out troops in that area. We can try and take out specialized equipment. We aren't used a ton in a lot of the Western role of sniping is information gathering and like relaying that information back, and quite a bit less shooting. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, it's actually fantastic, but drones have replaced us in a lot of ways of doing that. So I don't want to say it's unfortunate, like, yeah, it cuts down on some of the work I do, but it also means that we're not exposing our troops as much, right? Yeah. And so that's a plus in anyone's books.
You mentioned drones, and we have a great actually question from our, again, Reddit community.
Yeah.
Are drones eliminating the need for snipers? In which situations is a sniper more effective than a drone?
I wouldn't say they've eliminated them entirely. They're definitely the bane of my existence in a lot of ways. But there's things that like living and breathing person being on the battlefield can do that a drone can't do. FPVs are fantastic tools, and the precision that they're able to get now is insane. But having someone on the battlefield who can make tactical decisions and then is still out there, that FPV is a one-time thing, right? You hit a target with it, it detonates, and then you need to get another one in the air. Whereas a sniper can potentially take repetitive shots on a piece of equipment. He can make that call on whether or not it's actually something that needs to get hit, or he can maintain his position, not be spotted, and wait for a better target to come through. And then also that I said that it's not used as much as it could be, but we do definitely still have an important role to play when it comes for the passage of information. We can correct targets, we can report on targets coming through an area and the movement of troops, and relay that information. We do a lot of the reconnaissance work, so finding pathways, going first in front of units and checking things out. Can't necessarily do all of that with drones. But we work incredibly closely with our ISR teams. They're fantastic dudes, and we try to have a good relationship with them. What they see from the top down, we try to see from the ground level, put those two pictures together, and then the commander who's making decisions just has an even better 3D image of what's going on the battlefield. So.
Okay, well, it sounds like a good working system. Like, okay, we have another question from Reddit, and it's about sniper topic. Being a sniper, do you focus on regular troops or do you concentrate on high-value targets like the leaders of enemy groups?
So there's absolutely priorities of work when it comes to that kind of task. When you're choosing who to shoot, you want to shoot the most valuable people. For us, a lot of the time, that's going to be like communications guys. If I can take out someone with a radio, fantastic. That way they can't continue to talk to other people. Almost everybody has a radio nowadays, so that's a little bit harder. I would shoot drone operators without hesitation. That's a little personal vendetta, but it's also really beneficial to the overall area. Drones pass so much information and spot so many of our movements. So if I can take those dudes out, great. If it's a choice between a guy with an AK-74 and the dude on a machine gun, I'm going to shoot the dude on the machine gun if I can, just a heavier casualty producing weapon. So there are definitely like priorities to who we shoot and when we shoot. But if it's just one dude and that's all you're seeing, then that one dude's going to get it if you can. Yeah.
I understand. Talking about drones, so basically, how do you keep up to date with camouflage and concealment techniques in the era of advanced thermal infrared imaging, drones and other systems?
Yeah.
Without maybe.
Absolutely. I won't dive into super details or anything because, we actively are working against that all the time. But it has been a struggle to overcome that. We do a lot of testing. We get as many products as we can that say, oh, we do this, we block this kind of thermal image, we screen you like this, and then we test it. We don't just trust what they say about their product. So we use a plethora of different types of like thermal blankets and screens and stuff set up at different distances, some that we wear, some we set up at little ways away from us. They all work a little bit differently. One of the most fantastic things that you can use to screen yourself from thermal is no big secret, but it's natural vegetation. It's incredibly hard for thermal cameras to see through just good overhead cover like a tree and stuff if it's got good foliage on it. So, I mean, if one of the first things we do, everybody does this, is if a drone comes overhead, get under the trees, get in the bushes. That sounds super low tech, but a lot of the time it works better than any super $800, $900 poncho or anything you can get. Yeah.
You mentioned ponchos, and we have another amazing question from Reddit, which is the following. What is your opinion on the effectiveness of anti-drone ponchos, aka invisibility cloaks, that reduce NIS, VIS and TIR signatures issued to NATO EFP forces, and if you could explain what these abbreviations mean, because I am not sure. I tried to Google, it didn't shine the light.
I want to say they're referring to, I'm not sure what, NIR?
NIS, I did not figure that out. VI,
it might be nighttime infrared signature.
I'm pretty sure this person meant all of these specifications. So anyways, what is your opinion on these ponchos?
That's a fantastic question because there are different spectrums. Like one piece of equipment that hides you from thermal imaging might make you stand out like a sore thumb for someone observing you through like traditional night vision. They do show like mask and screen you differently. We've had good success with some of those. They've worked well. Some of them heat up too rapidly. Some of them work way too well, and rather than like masking you and blending in with the environment, you just become like a negative spot in the environment. So you're just a different color on a thermal camera, but you're still like a big hole in the thermal imagery. Not great. Some of them are like sauna suits, and you just heat up immediately. In about 5 minutes, you're like almost smoking on thermal imagery because you're sweating so much. So we try to kind of like blend them a lot of the time, but there are systems out there that work really, really well. The number one thing, like I said before, that if anyone was interested in that technology, whatever it is that they get, they should look into how they're specifically going to use it and then test it, test to make sure it actually works.
Coming back, I'll just continue a little bit with the drones. So you've been fighting for like 2 solid years, right? And the usage of drones also evolved. First, there was just Mavics, then FPV became a huge thing. Now we have thermal FPV and so on and so forth. So how did this reshape your approach to planning? Do you also do you have to figure out every time something new? How does it work? Briefly, not too detailed.
Yeah, one of the things our unit is fantastic at doing, and I attribute this to us having people from, so many different military backgrounds, is that everyone has different thoughts on how to deal with things. So we rapidly evolve as a unit. Mission to mission, we're adapting on how we deal with these threats. If there's something that people notice is working well, that one team is doing, we try to adopt it across all the units and share that information. There's no point making the same mistakes over and over and over, right, when someone knows a solution to it. So that's a big one. We do definitely have to adjust our planning accordingly for drones and things. No more can you be like, oh, as long as no one sees me crossing this open field, I'm good, because there's probably someone watching overhead. It affects every facet of how we operate, yeah. So we do have to adjust just about everything.
Another question from Reddit is about, I'll just read it. Both Ukrainian and Russian infantry units seem to field semi-automatic shotguns as a short-range defense against UAVs or loitering munition. What is your take on the effectiveness of shotguns against drones?
Medium effectiveness. It really depends on the setup of the shotgun you have. If for any Americans watching or dudes who like duck hunting and things, like a good goose gun that can reach out really far with a really tight pattern and still be effective on target, that's a good gun. But as people probably know, that's a very expensive gun and a very specifically made, and it's huge. They're usually really, really long, not super easy to carry, as well as your fighting weapon. I've seen dudes have great effect with just their 5.56 carbines and AKs, honestly. If a drone is hovering for even just a second or two, guys are able to get snapshots on target and take them down. Seen it tons of times. So I don't want to discredit just your regular rifle for that. It's, I would say, just train harder to shoot small targets. Shotguns, yeah, have had mixed effectiveness for us. Okay.
Another question from Twitter by Vincent Collins, which is the following. What's the most significant challenge you faced as a team leader of Reconnaissance/sniper unit? Can we speak about that?
Yeah. Finding appropriate work for guys can be incredibly difficult. Everybody wants to do a specific mission set, and then a lot of times my job is to be the bearer of bad news and say, hey guys, we're gonna go do this not so sexy work today. And that's war, that is part of it. So mitigating guys' expectations with the reality of what we're doing can be quite difficult. That's more of an admin thing for a team leader. I think this is probably a common sense one, but sending your dudes into harm's way or going and asking them to do, hey, I want you to go do a close target reconnaissance of this Russian position we know it has a machine gun and it's been shooting our guys for days, and I want you to try and creep up to it. That's a really tense situation to send guys into, especially when I consider some of those dudes some of my closest friends in the world. So, and then just to get on the radio and be like, hey, I'm not going with you, you go do it, is doesn't make me feel right. So doing things like that has been really, really hard for me to adjust to. But to their credit, all my dudes do admirably with both of those things. They do the work that's not so cool. They do it without complaints. And the hard work that's pretty scary, they do that without complaints. So, yeah.
Well, if I may ask, how many people are around about in your team?
Yeah, there's give or take 20 or so of us, plus or minus a few.
Okay, thanks. In these almost 3 years of a full-scale war, there have been a lot of so-called game changer, from Bayraktar to HIMARS on the Ukrainian side to Shahids and glide bombs, which is Cubs on the Russian side. For you personally, what was the biggest game changer in the last year of this war?
I'm thinking the same one everyone probably says here. It's not an incredibly interesting answer, but the proliferation of drones. There was a marked last year, I think last summer, around this time, there was a huge increase in the area that I was working of FPV drones and just drones in general being used. it was like most of the infantry had left, and it was the drones had come in and were in full effect. Not just FPVs, but how drones work in tandem with the artillery, so spotting for artillery. I've been places where it felt like you weren't actually fighting Russian infantry, you were just fighting the drones and their artillery partners, and it's a nightmare. So the constant adaptation of that and how rapidly that technology evolves has been really work to keep up with that.
And what surprised or shocked you the most in terms of enemy's tactics over the last year? Maybe you learned something new or something, I don't know. Can we...
I wouldn't say the tactics have they've changed in a way that shocked me. Just the capabilities between unit to unit. I've seen some Russian units do incredibly stupid stuff, and I'm like, great. I'm really glad that they're not very smart, because they could capitalize on this weakness in our line somewhere, and they don't. And but then I have also seen Russian units who adapt just as quickly as we do, and they're quite smart and clever about how they target us. They can work against rear positions, so they don't even fight the dudes in the front. They just make it hard for the guys to get there and supply the positions, which is attritional warfare, bread and butter right there, but it's incredibly frustrating. Yeah, so just the dispositions of the different units and how they work is a real interesting thing to see.
Maybe you could outline something on the Ukrainian side, which here, I'm sorry, excuse me.
No problem.
Bring the mood up, I guess. Maybe something. Maybe there's something that you observed that Ukrainian side implied something that was something new and worked.
Yeah, well. I mean, we've seen Ukrainians adapt really well to the changing seasons. The recent drones with thermite attached to them has been a fantastic. Change in technology, and it's capitalizing on that. Oh, it was a long, hot summer. Everything's super dry, and we can't see these dudes in this dense vegetation. Roger that. Let's set it all on fire. That's low tech, but the dividends it pays back for how well it works is fantastic. But also the Ukrainians' ability to adapt to Western lessons that are coming over. They've really, the military that I've seen has really embraced this idea. Of maneuver warfare and rapidly moving units. I think the success that they've gained up in Kursk is a great example of that. Is they made a breakthrough and then they were like, oh, we're just gonna keep going. We're not gonna do this line by line, slow kind of pace forwards, destroying everything in front of us. It's just a rapid movement through, and then let the rear guard units who follow through kind of secure the area. It's really, really, really smart warfare, and it's the kind of thinking that we need to see if we're going to continue to make really good gains in this war.
Thanks. Next question would be, how do you integrate real-time intelligence from various sources into planning and execution of your missions?
Yeah, so we do a lot of on-the-ground reconnaissance, and we usually have guys out at the same time if there's a specific assault action coming up or something. If we have a very specific objective, we'll send dudes out on reconnaissance. That way we get the ground level. At the same time, we're doing drone flights. So then, like I spoke about earlier, we'll try to match up those two images. What did I see on the ground versus what do they see from the air? Paints a really good picture. We have fantastic intelligence guys working with us who will build those into working products for us. So within 24, 48 hours, everyone has, even down to the lowliest rifleman on a team, has all the information that could possibly be available to the commander as well. So everyone understands the mission going into it.
But do you use specific software for this? Because I understand, you already mentioned about the sources, but in which, I mean, how does it all, I guess, physically get added up in the end?
We use Ukrainian mapping software. I'm not even sure how much I can speak about it.
No, we don't need to mention. Yeah. I'm just curious how it, in the end, where does it all contains, you know? So it's, I guess it's some program that, I guess you put the date, let's call it.
Yeah, it's like military Google Earth on steroids, kind of. And
okay.
Yeah, we have some dudes who know how to work that really, really well. And then they pass it off to us less computer savvy dudes and say, press this button now and this happens. But it's fantastic in terms of getting up-to-date information on what's happening.
All right. So foreign volunteers is the favorite topic in Russian propaganda, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the war with NATO, they're, I don't know, Nazi and everything. And the greatest example of all of this is a Reconnaissance work page. Do you know of them?
Yeah, I've been posted on there once or twice, so I'm familiar.
I'm pretty sure they're watching us now, or they will be watching us later. What would be your message to them?
I would just simply say that we love it. We think it's hilarious. I don't think I've ever seen anything on there that has actually been probably beneficial to anybody. And most of the time they're posting incredibly inaccurate information. So we get a kick out of it. It's a great source of comedy for us out here.
Yeah, they do have quite specific sense of humor,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Okay, on this good note, we are not done yet, but a few weeks ago, a group of Ukrainian documentaries, which is called Babylon 13, and many of those documentarists are a part of the armed forces as well. They released a teaser of the movie Summertime in Ukraine, and your unit played a big role in it. I think I suggest we will watch this teaser right now. We'll show it to the viewers, and then we'll speak about that a little bit.
Cool.
Okay, I guess.
East Coast, United States.
Originally, I'm from California.
California, USA.
West Coast, Washington, in the U.S.
I'm from New Hampshire.
From Arizona.
Those who served in Afghanistan, Iraq, do you want everything you thought you knew about war? Stop thinking that.
When I was a kid, my dad will always let me watch movies with him, and he's a big fan of war movies, so he can't really blame me for joining the Army or coming over here. As soon as the war broke out, me and my friends were making jokes how we're going to get ourselves kicked out of the Army and join the fight in Ukraine. So far, only 2 of us have did it.
To me, it was a simple decision. I wanted to come. I believe in the cause. It was worth it, so I came.
And the same as I'm doing. You'll come up, flick the fire, snap.
I hope I'm doing the memory of my friends who have been killed, doing them justice. And I hope I'm doing that if the dudes who fought these wars long ago, if they saw me, they'd be like, that's a good fucking soldier.
Welcome to MTV Cribs, Ukraine. We're out here with the boys.
Yeah, you guys are all right. We can be friends.
Even though we're going to different squadrons, we'll have to see you down the line.
The first day that I was in Kiev, I proceeded to embarrass myself by getting a wonderful bowl of borscht all in my beard. My love for Ukrainian food started there. Very messy and wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Wake up, drink a coffee, ride a dirt bike, eat food, ride a dirt bike again. That would be my life till I die. If I survive, you know.
Doesn't matter who your commander is. Doesn't matter what side you're fighting for or what politics brought you here. The only thing that matters is the guy next to you. That's it. And that's going to determine if you go home or not.
All right. Well, first of all, I think it's a great teaser, and I can't wait to see it in the movie. Have you already seen the full-length version of it or not?
I've seen in-edit screenings, of the full-length version.
Mm-hmm. So how does it feel to see you on a, not so big yet, but still you will be on a big screen? How does it feel to be a superstar?
Oh, I don't know if I'd say superstar, but I don't know. I'm one of those dudes who like hates seeing myself on camera, and I hate my voice on camera. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's great to see the message. It's great to see the boys out there getting some recognition for the work they're putting in, and I love that people can see what we're about a bit, how we work. I'm sure there's a lot of confusion and just like enigma surrounding like what's the Legion and what are these dudes about, how does it operate, so maybe we can shed some light on some of those things with this movie.
Yeah, I think that would be useful and very interesting for everyone to see. How did the filming happening? Did the filmmakers were joining you from time to time, or did you spend I don't know, 2-3 months straight? Could you speak about that a little?
Yeah, a lot of the time they were coming through. So when I first met the filmmakers, I was on a rotation as like an instructor trainer for a batch of new recruits that we'd brought out. So myself and a couple of the more senior dudes were doing that role, and that was when we'd first been, I believe that's when we were first approached about it, and then they linked up with us. That was like a month or so of training, and that rolled kind of right into our squadron training. So then they linked up with us again for that. So it was several months kind of back to back of us just happened to be doing a lot of training and stuff, and the intake of new dudes, which follows a lot of their story. So everything kind of just lined up really well.
So hopefully a lot of people outside of Ukraine, especially in the States, will watch the movie. And we have a good question from our Instagram subscriber. How can we reach more Americans on the reality of war? What's your opinion on that?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a great question, actually, because it's a hard thing to convey to someone who isn't experiencing it themselves. I mean, there's so much stuff that I've done out here and I've seen that is just like, I can't tell anyone about this because they'll never believe me. That like, it just sounds so. It's not unrealistic, but this war, there's so many things about this war that are, for lack of better words, just insane. And some of the most atrocious stuff, too, is just, I can't believe that people can do this to one another, that Russians can do this to Ukraine. And so, but I think to get back to their question more specifically, telling the stories really is, a lot of people don't, and if you have like, people who are connected, you're connected with in America, answering those questions. Maybe some of those questions seem slightly mundane, having lived through it, but they don't know any better. So do your best to answer and educate. I like to try and answer as many questions as I can, just to be a source of information on that kind of stuff. Because, yeah, if you're not here, how do you know?
To add on that, what lessons learned do you think are most beneficial to Western armies, and where do you think we can improve training to better face modern battlefield realities?
Yeah, we talk about this all the time in the unit, actually, just because we do try to be so proactive in addressing ourselves. So there's a lot of stuff that is like, if you're not doing this now, you're probably going to be behind on the curve. How to deal with drones. If it's not like drones are going to go anywhere. All militaries at this time are trying to phase them into how they work. So all we can do is try to, if Western militaries find themselves being fielded against a near-peer or peer-to-peer adversary, they need to know how to mitigate that ahead of time. It's incredible how good of a job Ukraine has done, like progressively dealing with these problems, and as they come up, how quickly they are able to react to them, or we're able to react to them, I should say. That one, and then a big one that I think people are going to hate to hear is that trench warfare is not going anywhere. It's been around for hundreds of years, and I believe it's going to continue to be. The higher tech, I mean, some of these problems, the only thing that you can do to mitigate it is to get in a hole and hide from it. Artillery can't get you, and if you're in a really, really big, well-built trench, drones lose a lot of their advantage if you have well-prepared positions. So dealing with the realities of that like, yeah, especially for like some of my American viewers and stuff, or your American viewers, I'm sorry. But
Per hour.
like the Gwatt was an era of super sexy high-speed warfare. Nobody dug in. Everything was on the move. It was helicopters dropping dudes on rooftops and, you know, really fast raids and stuff. This isn't that. And there was a ton of really good lessons learned from that war, and the experiences that people had there were very important. It's changed a ton of stuff that we do now, but then this is peer-to-peer. Like, this is attritional warfare across several hundred meters of terrain where neither one side can necessarily just assault across. So you've got to be able to dig in and prepare for a long fight. Yeah.
Thanks for your answer. Question from our YouTube questions. So someone is watching us. Did you ever face foreign volunteers on the Russian side?
I don't know if I have myself directly.
But you must have heard some stories.
I know that dudes I've worked with have, absolutely. We see a lot of people who are maybe not like ethnic Russian in terms of that guy looks like he comes from St. Petersburg or Moscow, but certainly like some of the other Caucasus of more like Asian orientation, so to speak. I'm not super familiar with all of Russia. So.
Yeah, they have a lot of ethnic minorities.
And then we do see a lot of influx of like people. I've heard of plenty of people fighting from like Africa and whatnot. I just personally myself haven't fought against them. We've come into contact with like Wagner and whatnot around Bakhmut and different like the storm battalions and whatnot, but not so many foreign troops specifically. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Another question, and that would be our Telegram community. We have many communities, as you can see. So what are the perks or benefits for an American having a Ukrainian passport?
For me, I have aspirations as far as career and stuff in Ukraine. I don't really plan on going anywhere, so it's another step in the development of my career. And in a big way, I like to think that it kind of puts me like a bit shoulder to shoulder more with my Ukrainian friends and colleagues. I want them to know that I'm not going anywhere, that I do plan. Like, it's one of the unfortunate side effects of like Westerners and working with the Legion and the capacity we do is that people don't necessarily feel like they are beholden to stay here until the end if they don't want to, which is fair. They're not necessarily, but I would say that like the more passion and drive and like I want to be here for the long haul, you know, here till V-Day kind of mindset that guys bring is it only helps you, and it gives legitimacy to you, to the Ukrainians that you work with. They appreciate that, right? That you're not just like in and out, this concept of a war tourist, right? Don't be that. So I wanted to try and dispel any notions of that, really. But it does come down to that, like Ukraine is home for me, and I want to continue to build my life here, and that was just a logical step in that.
Sounds great. My question would be, is your career aspiration somehow linked to the fact that you are eligible to become an officer in the future due to Ukrainian law? You probably, you know, just for our viewers, that a person without the Ukrainian citizenship cannot be an officer in Ukrainian army, no matter of previous ranks whatsoever. So would that probably be what you've been talking about? Is it linked somehow?
Yeah, my girlfriend absolutely is like, oh, you need to become a Ukrainian officer now. I would like to, down the road, it's something that, like, as far as career goes, yeah, I am really, really invested in the development of my unit, and I want to continue to be of service in that capacity too. So if becoming an officer helps in that, then fantastic. I wouldn't want to lose the role I have now. I really enjoy leading my guys from the front as much as possible and working alongside the other senior dudes to lead. So for some reason that role took me away from the field. I would have hesitations, but I don't believe it will. Not anytime soon, at least. And I guess eventually everybody has to move on in career. If it did take me away from field operations and someone higher than me decided I had more to give by like educating people or something, so be it. That's not for me to decide. But long story short, yes, I would like to move in that direction eventually.
Good. I'm glad we figured that one out. How do you think it will work? Well, for example, let's say you're an officer, you will have to report to a higher commander. In terms of language, would you report to only English-speaking commanders? Do you have an idea how it might work?
Currently within the Legion, most of our commanders all speak really, really good English. My commander speaks great English. It's no issue to communicate with him. But I am frantically learning Ukrainian or improving my Ukrainian because it's a respect thing, right? Like as a Westerner, I can't just show up everywhere and be like, all right, speak my language now. Like, no, if I'm speaking to Ukrainian, I need to speak Ukrainian or at least try. So yeah, and you're not going to be able to go to every unit. Like a lot of the jobs with the Legion, you end up having to interface with other units, kind of have like left seat, right seat rides with leadership from Ukrainian units and the ZSU. So not all those dudes speak English, and not always can I take someone along to be a translator for me. So the more I can do and speak myself, it just enables us to work better.
All right. I think we're approaching to the end of this conversation, and I guess the most important question is, do you prefer Deep Space Nine over Voyager? Both had their strengths, but DS9 had solid acting and writing.
Oh, wow. So I'm not a Trekkie in any means. That's about Star Trek,
yes,
right?
I was also surprised, but I thought it's fun.
Ironically enough, like when I was a teenager, Voyager was always on like the afternoon TV after I got home from school, so I was always catching reruns of that, so I guess Voyager. But really, my heart always belongs to Warhammer 40K and always will, so yeah.
All right. Thanks so much. It was a great pleasure to be having you here, and hopefully we'll see each other some other time, maybe when you will be having the beautiful things
We'll
on
see.
your shoulders.
Yeah, one day.
Yes. So yeah, thanks again, and good luck with everything that you do.
Oh.
And thanks for for everything you have done so far for Ukraine. That's really remarkable, I would say.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
All right, well, that's it for today, I guess. And thanks everyone who has been watching us, and join us sometime next week. We'll make an announcement, so we'll be sure you won't miss it. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.